Hello everyone. Today I want to show a brilliant game played in the 1963-64 US Chess Championship. This was played between Robert Byrne and Bobby Fischer. It's important to note this is not Donald Byrne, who was the opponent in the game of the century. This game won Fischer the Brilliancy Prize, and it's truly deserved. Let's check it out. Starts with d4, knight f6, c4, g6, g3, c6, bishop d2, and d5. The Fianchetto variation of the Grunfeld. C takes d5, and Fischer actually said that queen b3 would maintain more tension here. C takes d5, knight c3, and bishop g7. e3, castles, knight ge2, and knight c6. White castles, and b6. b3, looking to develop the bishop on c1, bishop to a6, and bishop to a3. Both sides are having some symmetry. Rook to e8, and queen d2. An alternative could have been rook to c1, x-raying the knight, and rook c8 defending, and rook e1, again maintaining some symmetry. But queen d2 was played, and this allowed e5. And Fischer said over here that the activity the black pieces will gain is more than enough to compensate for the weakness of the d5 pawn, and white will not get a chance to exploit that weakness. Well, d into e5 capturing and isolating the d5 pawn, knight into e5. And here comes the move. Rook fd1 was played, which leaves f2 vulnerable. And it seems impossible to even attack on f2, but that makes a difference. If rook ad1 had been played, then queen d7 would have been the move, and the continuation would be queen c2, piling up on d5, and rook ac8, pinning the knight on c3, queen to b1, unpinning, and queen g4, putting pressure on the e2 knight. h3, queen h5, knight to f4, attacking the queen, and queen h6. Knight c takes d5, but bishop takes f1, rook takes f1, and knight takes d5, and knight into d5, and after king h8, the position would be unclear, but it would certainly have been better than what was played. Rook ad1. This allows knight to d3. Rook fd1 was played, and it allows knight to d3, which targets f2, and it seems fine, but it won't be. And this shows the depth of Fischer's calculation. Queen c2, attacking the knight with the rook. Alternative could have been, let's say, knight d4, but knight e4 then. Knight into e4, d into e4, and the problem of the weak pawn has been solved, and the knight is cemented on d3. Bishop b2, and c8. This could have been played. Black is quite happy here as well. But queen c2 is not precise at all. It allows knight into f2, a wonderful sacrifice. And this is what Fischer meant with activity, as we'll see. After king into f2, there's knight g4 check. The king side is smashed to some extent, and after king g1, knight into e3. It seems for a moment that Fischer will grab a rook for two knights and some pawns, but that's not the point at all. Queen d2 was played, and knight into g2. Again, it shows how deep Fischer calculated, because after king into g2, he played d4. And Fischer commented that the king is at black's mercy now. He's opened the long diagonal from h1 to a8. Knight d4, well, what else do you do? Bishop b7 check. King went to f1. If king g1 were played, then bishop into d4 is an option. And after queen into d4, rook e1, deflecting the white rook. So king f2 would be forced, queen into d4, rook into d4, and rook into a1. This endgame is very, very good for black. So king f1 was played, and at this point, around this point, the commentators were considering that Fischer was lost, but he played queen d7, threatening queen h3 check, and white resigned. It seems amazing that white resigned here. after queen into d7, if let's say queen f2, this is what a line Fischer gave. If queen f2, for instance, just trying to get some pieces around, you have queen h3 check, and king g1, rook e1 check. Again, the same move, deflecting. If the queen is deflected, well, then queen g2 would be mate, and if the rook is deflected, then bishop d4 skewers the queen and the king. So this is the reason why Fischer got the Brilliancy Prize. It's a beautiful game. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you soon for the next game.